If you jump, you'll drag someone else's soul with you. Ji-Hwan froze. He'd been seconds away from stepping off, seconds away from ending a life he could no longer stand. 29 years old, law degree from Seoul's best university, and he'd used every qualification to become his father's weapon. The voice behind him was female, determined, unafraid. He turned slowly. A woman stood in the rain, soaked through, her dark skin gleaming with water, business suit clinging to her frame. Caribbean, from the cadence in her voice. A lawyer, from the Bar Association pin on her lapel. Who are you? His voice was hollow. Someone who's not going to let you do this. She stepped closer, hands raised. Whatever you're running from, it's not worth your life. You don't know what I'm running from. Then tell me. Ji-Hwan laughed, bitter and broken. I'm tired. Tired of being a weapon. Tired of waking up hating the person I see in the mirror. You think death will fix that? It won't. It'll just leave everyone else to clean up your mess. There's no one left to care. I would. 2 words. Spoken with such raw certainty that Ji-Hwan's breath caught. You don't even know me. I know you're in pain. I know that whatever brought you here doesn't have to end like this. She extended her hand. Please. I'm begging you. Step back. This was how it began. A rooftop in Seoul. A storm that wouldn't stop. And 2 people who should have been strangers but became everything to each other. The rain was merciless that night, hammering down on the 40-story building like it wanted to wash away sins too heavy to carry. Ji-Hwan's expensive leather shoes balanced on cold concrete, his dark coat whipping in the wind. He'd stood there for an hour, trying to find the courage to let go. I don't know how to live anymore, he whispered. I forgot how. Then I'll teach you. She was closer now, close enough to touch. 1 breath at a time. 1 step at a time. Starting right now. Her hand stayed extended. Steady despite the fear he could smell on her skin, despite the tears mixing with rain on her face. An offering. A lifeline. Ji-Hwan stared at that hand. Saw the thin scars on her knuckles that spoke of battles fought and survived. And for reasons he couldn't name, he took it. Her fingers closed around his with surprising strength, and she pulled him back from the edge. Pulled him away from death, and into her arms as his legs gave out completely. He collapsed against her, 6 feet of broken man held upright only by her grip and her whispered prayers. I've got you. I've got you. You're not alone anymore. Ji-Hwan buried his face in her shoulder and sobbed, deep, wrenching sounds that he'd been holding back for years. She didn't let go. Just held him tighter, one hand cradling the back of his head while she prayed over him in words that sounded like music and mercy. Before we go any further, let me tell you what makes this story different. This isn't your typical mafia romance. There's no violent boss protecting a helpless woman here. Instead, this is about a strong woman, a Caribbean lawyer, fighting to free a broken Korean-Mafia heir from his father's empire. She's the warrior. He's the one who needs saving. Role reversal. And I think it's beautiful. Now back to that rooftop. When Ji-Hwan finally pulled back, when he could breathe again without feeling like his chest was caving in, he looked at her properly. Really looked. Took in her professional suit, the briefcase she'd dropped when she'd started running toward him, the Bar Association pin on her lapel. Recognition hit him like a freight train. You. His voice was hoarse. You're Amara Joseph, the lawyer who opposed my father in court last year. The one who tried to stop the Hanam development deal. Her eyes widened. Choi Ji-Hwan. The son who signed the contracts I couldn't break. They stared at each other, enemies bound together by this strange and terrible moment, rain still falling around them. Of all people, Ji-Hwan whispered, you're the one who saved me? Kalinda's expression softened. Maybe that's exactly why it had to be me. Maybe I'm the only one who could understand what your father does to people, including his own son. Before Ji-Hwan could respond, sirens wailed in the distance. Kalinda had called emergency services. Please don't, he said quietly. They'll call my parents. And if they come, then I'll stand between you and them. She squeezed his hand. I won't leave you alone with this darkness. Ji-Hwan wanted to argue. Wanted to tell her she didn't understand the danger. But exhaustion pulled at him, and for the first time in months, he wasn't alone. The hospital was sterile and bright, and full of people who looked at Ji-Hwan like he was broken glass. They put him in a private room because Choi meant money and power in Seoul. Ji-Hwan was staring at the ceiling when the door opened. His father walked in first. Choi Dae-young at 60 was still imposing. Silver hair immaculately styled, charcoal suit without a wrinkle, eyes like chips of black ice. Behind him came Ji-Hwan's mother, Park Mi-sun, elegant and cold in a cream Chanel dress. "Well," Dae-young said, voice smooth as poisoned honey, "this is embarrassing. A Choi reduced to theatrics. I raised you better. Father, don't make excuses." Mi-sun's tone was sharp. "You've humiliated this family." Again, Kalinda stood from the corner chair. "Your son tried to kill himself tonight." The appropriate response is concern, not criticism. Both parents turned to look at her. "And who are you?" Dae-young asked with terrifying politeness. "Amara Joseph. Attorney. The one who stopped your son from jumping." Recognition flickered in Dae-young's eyes. "Ah, Miss Joseph. The lawyer who lost the Hannum case. How convenient that you were there tonight." Convenient would be a father who actually cares that his son is alive instead of questioning motives. "Grateful? To a woman like you." Mi-sun's laugh was like breaking glass. "You don't belong in our world. You didn't belong in that courtroom, and you certainly don't belong here. I belong wherever someone needs help." Kalinda's hand moved to the cross at her throat. "And right now, your son needs someone who sees him as more than a disappointment." Dae-young's expression turned glacial. "You lawyers. Always so righteous. We'll discuss this privately. Tell your rescuer to leave." "No." Ji-Hwan's voice was barely a whisper, but it stopped everyone. He forced himself to sit up. "She stays. If she wasn't there tonight, I'd be dead. And you'd be planning my funeral instead of scolding me." Silence crashed down. Mi-sun's lips parted in shock. Dae-young's jaw tightened. "You ungrateful," Mi-sun started. "I'm tired, Mother. Tired of being grateful for a life I never wanted." His eyes burned. "If Kalinda wasn't there, I'd be free. Finally free." Dae-young recovered first. "I see. The stress has affected your judgment. We'll arrange private therapy. This incident will be forgotten." "It won't be forgotten by me," Kalinda said. "And I won't let you sweep his pain under the rug." Mi-sun turned on her. "Who do you think you are? Some Caribbean nobody with delusions of heroism? You don't know our family. I have the right because I'm the one who held him while he cried. I'm the one who will make sure he gets the help he needs." "Prayed?" Dae-young's smile turned cruel. "How quaint. Tell me, Miss Joseph, do your prayers mention my son is a grown man who makes his own choices? Threaten me all you want. I'm not afraid of you. Then you're a fool." Dae-young stepped closer. "You challenged me in court and lost. Now you're challenging my authority over my son. How many times must you lose before you learn? My place is standing between broken people and the systems that destroy them. Even if that system is called family." For one terrible moment, Ji-Hwan thought his father might actually strike her. But then a nurse knocked, breaking the tension, and Dae-young stepped back. "We'll continue this later." He adjusted his cufflinks. "Ji-Hwan, you'll come home tomorrow. Life will return to normal." "I don't want normal. Normal brought me to that rooftop." Mi-sun's eyes filled with frustrated tears. "How can you do this? After everything we've sacrificed." "The chains," Ji-Hwan interrupted. "Don't forget the chains, Mother. Gold-plated and beautifully wrapped, but chains nonetheless." His mother recoiled. Without another word, they left, Mi-sun's heels clicking like a countdown. Kalinda sank into the chair, trembling. "I'm sorry. That was unprofessional." "True." Ji-Hwan looked at her. "Everything you said was true. No one's ever defended me like that. Everyone deserves someone in their corner. Even mafia heirs who try to jump off buildings. Especially them," Ji-Hwan said softly. Kalinda was quiet, then asked, "Why did you want to die tonight?" "The real reason." Ji-Hwan wrestled with words that had lived like shrapnel in his chest. "My father made me his lawyer. Paid for the best schools. I thought maybe he was proud. But he didn't want a lawyer. He wanted a signature. Someone with credentials who could make his dirty deals look legitimate. And I was so desperate for his approval that I signed every contract, knowing they'd hurt people." Tears tracked down his face. "You fought me in the Hannum case. Remember? You presented evidence of displacement, of families losing homes, of suicide rates rising. And I buried your evidence under technicalities. I won that case. 3 months later, a grandfather hanged himself because he lost his home. The home his family owned for 4 generations. Because of a deal I validated." Kalinda's hand covered her mouth, tears spilling. "So when you ask why I wanted to die, I'm already dead inside. I killed the man I wanted to be the first time I sold my soul. Tonight was just making the outside match the inside." For a long moment, only their breathing filled the space. Then Kalinda reached out and took his hand. You're not dead. Broken, yes. Wounded, absolutely. But not dead. Dead people don't cry for their victims. Dead people don't hate themselves for their choices. I don't know how to be someone different. Then let me help you learn. She squeezed his hand. You don't have to carry this alone anymore. Ji-Hwan wanted to believe her so badly it ached. Why would you help me? I'm the enemy. Human. Just human. Same as me. And humans deserve second chances. She touched the cross at her throat. My faith teaches me no one is beyond redemption. So I'm choosing to believe the man who cried on that rooftop is stronger than the man who signed those contracts. Something shifted in Ji-Hwan's chest. Hope, maybe. Small and fragile, but there. What now? Now you rest. Tomorrow, you're going to tell them you want psychiatric evaluation. And you're going to hire me as your attorney. Why would I do that? Because your father will try to control this. Drag you back. But if I'm your attorney, he has to go through me first. Her eyes hardened. And I don't bury easily. Ji-Hwan almost laughed. You think you can protect me from him? I've faced worse. And besides, I have something your father doesn't. What's that? Faith. She smiled softly. Faith that truth wins eventually. That light drives out darkness. And that the God I serve is bigger than any corporate empire built on suffering. Okay, Ji-Hwan whispered. I'll hire you. But Kalinda, if they come after you, if they hurt your career, you have to walk away. I'm not worth destroying your life over. That's not your decision to make. She stood. Get some sleep. I'll be back in the morning with paperwork and a plan. She made it to the door before Ji-Hwan called out. Kalinda? Thank you. For not letting me jump. Her smile was soft and sad. You're welcome. But next time you're on a ledge, call me first. Then she was gone, leaving Ji-Hwan alone with thoughts and the strange feeling that maybe tomorrow wouldn't be the worst day of his life. For the first time in years, he slept without nightmares. The next morning, Kalinda arrived at 8 with coffee and a leather portfolio. Hope you like it black. Ji-Hwan accepted the cup. Black is fine. You came back. Of course I did. I said I would. She pulled out papers. Now let's talk business. For the next hour, they planned. Kalinda would become his attorney. She'd file for temporary psychiatric hold, preventing his parents from removing him. They're going to fight this, Ji-Hwan warned. My father has connections everywhere. Let them fight. Kalinda's smile was sharp. I know his tactics. And I know his weaknesses. He doesn't have weaknesses. Everyone does. His is arrogance. He's so used to winning he doesn't expect real opposition. She leaned forward. But I'm not the same lawyer who lost to you. I'm smarter now. More experienced. And significantly more motivated. Why risk so much for me? Are you using me? She asked. No. Then I'm not worried. She gathered her papers. I need to file these before noon. Can you hold down the fort? Ji-Hwan nodded. Kalinda, when this is over, when you realize how messy my life is, you're going to regret this. And when you do, I'll understand. Kalinda walked back and touched his face. Listen carefully, Choi Ji-Hwan. I don't do anything I'll regret. When I choose to fight for someone, I fight until we win. Can you trust me? Her touch sent electricity through him. Ji-Hwan leaned into her palm. I can try. Good enough. She pulled back. I'll be back in 3 hours. If your parents show up, don't engage. Just tell them your attorney is handling everything. His parents arrived exactly at noon with reinforcements. 2 corporate lawyers, a hospital administrator, his mother's assistant carrying discharge papers. Ji-Hwan, his father said, stop this foolishness. You're coming home. I'm not leaving. My attorney filed for psychiatric hold. I'm staying for evaluation. Dae-young's expression darkened. Your attorney? That Joseph woman? I had her investigated. Did you know she's been censured by the Bar Association? That her practice is barely surviving. Each word was designed to cut. But Ji-Hwan felt anger rising, not at Kalinda, but at his father. I know she's one of the most tenacious attorneys in Seoul. That she's never backed down. And that she's the only person who's ever stood up to you on my behalf. So yes, father, she's my attorney. Mi-sun stepped forward, manufactured tears glittering. How can you do this? After everything we've sacrificed? This woman is poisoning your mind. She's not poisoning anything. She's just honest enough to tell me the truth. That I don't have to be your weapon. Weapon? Dae-young's voice dropped dangerously. After I built an empire, so you'd have opportunities one never had? The finest cage. You gave me a beautiful cage and expected gratitude. One of the lawyers cleared his throat. Perhaps we should discuss this privately. The door opened. Kalinda walked in, carrying a thick folder. Good afternoon. I see the family meeting started without me. Miss Joseph. Dae-young's smile was all teeth. We were discussing my son's release, which will happen immediately. Actually, it won't. Kalinda pulled out documents. I've filed for a 72-hour hold. Judge Park signed the order 20 minutes ago. Any attempt to remove him will violate court order. Mi-sun's mask cracked. You can't do this. He's our son. He's an adult who attempted suicide. The court has a duty to ensure his safety. Kalinda's voice was calm, devastating. If you'd like to challenge this, we can schedule a hearing where Ji-Hwan testifies under oath. I'm sure the press would find that interesting. The threat landed. Dae-young's empire was built on reputation. Having his son publicly testify about being driven to suicide would destroy that. You're blackmailing us, the lawyer said. I'm protecting my client. If you truly care about your son, you'll support this decision. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Mi-sun lost control. You self-righteous bitch. You think you can tear us apart? You're nothing. A nobody who got lucky with a law degree. Kalinda didn't move. Are you finished? Get out before I have you removed. This is my client's room. You're the visitors. Kalinda turned to Ji-Hwan. Do you want your parents to leave? Every eye turned to him. Ji-Hwan felt the weight of finally having a choice. Yes. I want them to leave. All of them. And I don't want visitors except my attorney. Dae-young's expression turned to stone. You'll regret this. Maybe. But at least I'll be alive to regret it. It took 15 minutes before they finally left. When the door closed, Kalinda sagged against the wall. That was terrifying. Ji-Hwan almost laughed. You didn't look terrified. Acting. Pure acting. She pressed a hand to her chest. Your mother is genuinely frightening. She's worse when you know her. Ji-Hwan studied Kalinda, her shaking hands, the exhaustion in her eyes, the courage it must have taken. Why did you really do this? Kalinda was quiet, fingers playing with her cross. 3 years ago, my younger brother tried to kill himself. He was being bullied at university. The administration did nothing. And I was too busy with my career to notice. Ji-Hwan's chest tightened. He survived. Barely. He's okay now. But for 3 months after, I couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about all the signs I missed. She looked at Ji-Hwan with tears streaming. When I saw you on that rooftop, I didn't see a mafia heir. I saw my brother. I saw everyone I've ever failed to save. And I couldn't let you jump. I couldn't survive failing again. Kalinda. So that's why. Because I need to believe people can be saved. That pain doesn't have to be permanent. Ji-Hwan didn't think. Just opened his arms, and Kalinda collapsed into them, crying against his chest while he held her the way she'd held him on that rooftop. Thank you, he whispered. For seeing me. For not giving up on me. She pulled back slightly. We're quite a pair, aren't we? The suicidal lawyer and the guilt-ridden savior. I'll take those odds. Ji-Hwan wiped a tear from her cheek, his thumb lingering. The touch was electric, intimate. Kalinda stepped back quickly. I should file additional paperwork. And you need to rest. Dr. Kim will conduct your evaluation tomorrow. She's good. She helped my brother. Over the next 3 days, Ji-Hwan lived in strange limbo. The evaluation was thorough. Hours of questions about his childhood, his relationship with his parents, the guilt over the Hannum case. Dr. Kim was exactly as Kalinda described, compassionate but unflinching. Kalinda visited every day, always professional during evaluations but softer when alone. She brought Caribbean food and stories about Trinidad before Korea. Why law? Ji-Hwan asked one evening over jerk chicken. Why come halfway around the world? Kalinda was quiet, chewing thoughtfully. My father was a judge back home. One of the few honest ones. He used to say law was humanity's best attempt at collective conscience. She set down her fork. He was murdered when I was 17. Shot outside the courthouse by men who worked for a crime boss he'd sent to prison. The system failed to convict his killers. I'm sorry. So am I. But it taught me that laws without someone brave enough to fight for them are just words. That justice requires people willing to stand in the gap. She met his eyes. So I came to Korea because I heard about your father's empire. And I thought maybe I could honor my father's memory. Prove his death meant something. And instead you lost. Over and over. Over and over. But I'm still here. Still fighting. Because the moment I give up is the moment your father wins permanently. Ji-Hwan reached across the table and took her hand. This time she didn't pull away. You're extraordinary. And I'm sorry our first meeting was with me defending the man you came to Korea to fight. Me too. But maybe we both had to hit rock bottom before we could see each other clearly. What do you see now? Kalinda studied him. I see someone who's been carrying guilt that isn't entirely his. Someone who made terrible choices, but hasn't stopped caring. Someone who could be remarkable if he just had the courage to choose himself over his father's expectations. I'm trying. For the first time, I'm actually trying. But I don't know if that person even exists. He exists. I'm looking at him right now. She smiled. You just have to stop being afraid of him. Before Ji-Hwan could respond, his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Your lawyer's bar review hearing has been moved up. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. Interesting timing, don't you think? Ji-Hwan's blood ran cold. Kalinda, your bar review. Did you know it was scheduled for tomorrow? She frowned, checking her phone. No, it wasn't supposed to be for 3 weeks. Her phone lit up. She opened it and color drained from her face. They moved it. Emergency hearing. Multiple parties claiming unethical representation, conflicts of interest, professional misconduct. My father. Ji-Hwan stood abruptly. He's coming after you because you protected me. You have to withdraw from my case. Before this destroys everything. No, this isn't negotiable. You don't understand what he's capable of. I know exactly what he's capable of. And I'm still not walking away. Steel in her voice. You hired me to protect you, and that's what I'm going to do. Starting with defending myself and exposing his manipulation. You'll lose your license. Maybe. She stood, moving until she was directly in front of him. But if I walk away now, you'll lose your protection. He'll drag you back, and we both know you won't survive it. I'd rather lose my license fighting for someone who deserves to be saved. Ji-Hwan felt something crack open in his chest. This woman was willing to sacrifice her career for him. Why would you do this? I'm not worth. Kalinda cupped his face with both hands. You are worth it. You are worth fighting for, worth protecting, worth every risk I'm taking. And I need you to believe that. Because if you don't, then your father wins. They stood like that, her hands on his face, his heart hammering, the space between them charged with something neither knew how to name. I want to kiss you, Ji-Hwan whispered. Right now, with your career falling apart because of me, I want to kiss you so badly I can barely breathe. But I can't, because every choice I've made has stained me, and I don't want to. Stop. You're not dirty. You're wounded. There's a difference. And wounds can heal. I don't know how. Then let me show you. She stepped closer, forehead resting against his. Not with a kiss, not yet. But with this. With presence. With the choice to stay when staying is hard. Ji-Hwan closed his eyes, breathing her in. He wanted to pull her closer, to close the distance and prove he was capable of something good. But he also knew his first instinct was to take, to possess. So he just stood there, letting her hold his face, and whispered, You're the first person who ever wanted me alive. Not as a tool or disappointment, but just alive. Do you know how that feels? Tell me. Like standing on that rooftop again, but this time there's a reason not to jump. This time there's someone who'd miss me. And that terrifies me more than death ever did, because it means I have something to lose now. Someone precious. And I only know how to destroy precious things. You're not going to destroy me. I'm stronger than I look. I'm not sure even God can protect you from my father. Then it's a good thing I don't need protection. I need courage. She stepped away completely, and Ji-Hwan immediately felt the loss. Tomorrow, you're going to give your statement to Dr. Kim. Be honest about everything. And I'm going to defend my license. We both have battles to fight. Let's win them. She gathered her things, but paused at the door. Thank you for wanting to protect me. Even if I don't need it, thank you for caring enough to try. Then she was gone, leaving Ji-Hwan alone with the ghost of her touch and the terrible knowledge that tomorrow, his father would try to destroy the one person who'd made him want to live. The bar review hearing was held in a cold conference room. Kalinda sat at a table facing 3 board members, her back straight, hands steady despite the fear Ji-Hwan knew she felt. Ji-Hwan wasn't supposed to be there, but he'd insisted. Dr. Kim had released him that morning with recommendations for outpatient therapy. His father sat in the back row, perfectly composed, watching with the satisfied air of someone who'd already won. The charges were read: conflict of interest, unethical solicitation, using client relationship for personal gain, filing frivolous psychiatric holds, unprofessional conduct threatening a client's family. Each accusation was carefully crafted to sound damning, while containing just enough truth to be plausible. Miss Joseph, the head board member began, Director Han, an older woman. These are serious allegations. What do you have to say? Kalinda stood. Director Han, members of the board, I'd like to present evidence that refutes each charge and exposes this hearing for what it is. Retaliation by a powerful family whose control I challenged. Dae-young's expression didn't change, but Ji-Hwan saw his fingers tighten on the armrest. She methodically dismantled each accusation. The conflict? She'd represented clients against the Choi Corporation, not Ji-Hwan personally. No legal prohibition. The solicitation? She'd stopped a suicide in progress, basic human decency. Personal gain? Standard retainer rates. The psychiatric hold? Dr. Kim's evaluation supported medical necessity. The threats? Security footage showed his parents were the ones making threats. It was surgical, precise, devastating. But then the board presented their evidence. Testimony from hospital staff claiming Kalinda had been inappropriately close. Photographs of daily visits, home-cooked food, hours spent beyond what attorney-client relationship required. Phone records showing multiple night calls. Miss Joseph, Director Han said slowly, these patterns suggest a relationship beyond professional representation. Can you explain? Kalinda hesitated. Just for a second. Because my younger brother attempted suicide 3 years ago. When I saw Mr. Choi on that rooftop, I couldn't fail again. So yes, I've been more personally invested than perhaps I should be. But that doesn't make my representation unethical. It makes me human. The room was silent. Then Dae-young stood. May I address the board? Director Han nodded reluctantly. Dae-young walked to the front with casual confidence. I appreciate Miss Joseph's honesty about her personal motivations. But it highlights the fundamental problem. You're not trying to help Ji-Hwan. You're trying to save your brother through him. You're using my son as therapy for your unresolved trauma. That's not ethical representation. That's manipulation. The accusation landed like a knife. Kalinda flinched, doubt flickering. That's not. Isn't it? My son was troubled, yes. But he was part of a family who loves him, who would have gotten him help privately. Instead, you inserted yourself, convinced him we were the enemy, and created a dependency where he believes he can't survive without you. Tell me, who does that benefit? Him. Or you and your need to feel like you've saved someone. Ji-Hwan couldn't take it anymore. He stood. That's a lie. Every head turned. Director Han frowned. Mr. Choi, you're not supposed to. I don't care what I'm supposed to do. Ji-Hwan walked forward until he was standing beside Kalinda. Everything my father just said is a lie designed to discredit the one person brave enough to protect me from him. Ji-Hwan, Dae-young said with paternal disappointment. You're emotional. Perhaps we should discuss this privately. No. Ji-Hwan turned to the board. You want to know why Kalinda Joseph has been personally invested? Because when she found me on that rooftop, I was seconds from jumping. Seconds from ending a life I couldn't stand because my father had turned me into a weapon. His voice shook. She didn't see a client or a case. She saw a human being in pain. And instead of walking away, which would have been safer, easier, she grabbed me and refused to let go. Kalinda's hand found his under the table. Yes, she brought me food. Yes, she visited daily. Yes, she filed for psychiatric hold. And every single action saved my life. He looked at his father. You want to paint her as manipulative? As using me? Then let me be clear. The only people who've ever manipulated me are sitting in this room. The only people who've used me as a tool are the ones trying to destroy the woman who stopped me from killing myself. Dae-young's mask cracked. You have no idea what you're talking about. We've given you everything. You gave me a cage. Ji-Hwan's shout echoed. You gave me an education so I could sign your contracts. A position so I could legitimize your crimes. A name that means blood and business and destruction. But you never gave me freedom to choose who I wanted to be. The silence was absolute. Ji-Hwan turned back to the board. If you're going to punish anyone, punish me. I hired her. I asked her to protect me. I needed her to be more than just a lawyer because I'd spent 29 years without anyone who cared if I lived or died. But don't take her license for being brave enough to care about a client as a person. Director Han exchanged glances with the other board members. After a long moment. Mr. Choi, these are serious allegations about your family. They're not allegations. Ji-Hwan pulled out his phone, opened a file, placed it on the table. They're facts. Contracts I signed under duress. Emails from my father instructing me to use loopholes to protect criminal activity. Text messages from my mother threatening disinheritance if I refused. 3 years of evidence. Dae-young stood abruptly. This hearing is supposed to be about Miss Joseph's violations, not. It's about both, Director Han interrupted sharply. Because if Mr. Choi's allegations are true, Miss Joseph's actions weren't unethical. They were necessary protection of a client being coerced by powerful family members. She looked at the other board members. I move to adjourn pending investigation. If his claims are substantiated, all charges against Miss Joseph will be dismissed. The vote was unanimous. Dae-young's expression turned to stone. Without a word, he turned and walked out. Outside, Kalinda collapsed against the wall. You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to give them that evidence. Your father will. Will what? Disown me? Threaten me? He's been doing that my entire life. The difference now is I'm finally fighting back. He'll come after you harder. Let him. Ji-Hwan took her hands. I'm done being afraid. I'm done letting him control my life. And I'm definitely done watching him hurt people I care about. Kalinda looked up at him, tears streaming. You saved my career in there. You saved my life on a rooftop. This doesn't even begin to make us even. For a moment, they just stood there, the rest of the world falling away. What happens now? Kalinda whispered. Now I find somewhere to live. Now I start therapy. Now I figure out how to be someone other than Choi Dae-young's son. He managed a small smile. And if you're willing, I'd like you to stay as my attorney. Because I need someone in my corner who reminds me why I chose to step back from that ledge. I'm willing. But Ji-Hwan, your father isn't going to let this go. It's going to get worse before it gets better. I know. Ji-Hwan pulled her into his arms. But at least this time I won't be facing it alone. They stayed like that until the hallway lights flickered, then walked out into Seoul's harsh sunlight. Neither noticed the black car across the street, or the man inside taking photographs, or the phone call being made with a simple message. They're getting too close. When should we proceed? That evening, Ji-Hwan and Amara sat in her small office. The adrenaline from the hearing had faded, leaving only exhaustion and the weight of what came next. My father won't let this go, Ji-Hwan said quietly. He'll come after both of us now. Harder. Let him try. Amara, I'm serious. He's going to escalate. And when he does, Ji-Hwan pulled out a flash drive from his pocket. You need to have this. She looked at the small device. What is it? Everything. 3 years of evidence. Contracts I signed under duress. Emails from my father instructing me to use loopholes to protect criminal activity. Text messages from my mother threatening disinheritance if I refused. Bank records showing money laundering. Communications with officials he's bribed. Everything. Amara's eyes widened. Ji-Hwan, if your father finds out you gave me this, then I'll already be past saving. But you won't be. He pressed the flash drive into her hand. Make copies. Multiple copies. Encrypt them. Send them to people you trust with instructions to release everything if anything happens to either of us. And Amara, his voice cracked. If he gets to me, if he drags me back or worse, promise me you'll use this. Promise me you'll make sure what he's done doesn't stay buried. I promise. She closed her fingers around the drive. But Ji-Hwan, this is your insurance too. This is what keeps you safe. Nothing keeps me safe from my father. But this might keep you alive. And that's all that matters. Amara pulled him into a tight embrace. We're going to survive this. Both of us. Together. Ji-Hwan wanted to believe her. But looking at that flash drive, he knew he'd just handed her the only weapon that could destroy his father. He just hoped she'd never have to use it. The next 2 weeks felt like living in the eye of a hurricane. Ji-Hwan moved into a small apartment in Itaewon. Nothing like the luxury he'd grown up with, but it was his, paid for with money he'd earned himself. Dr. Kim's therapy sessions were brutal and necessary, peeling back layers of trauma he'd spent years trying to ignore. And Kalinda was there through it all. She helped him shop for furniture, sat with him on nights when the guilt came back so strong he could barely breathe. They maintained professional boundaries. Mostly, there were moments, hands brushing when passing dishes, sitting too close on his second-hand couch, the way she looked at him sometimes when she thought he wasn't paying attention, that suggested the line between attorney and client was becoming increasingly blurred. But neither pushed, both too aware that Ji-Hwan was still healing, still figuring out who he was without his father's shadow. Until the night his father's men came for Kalinda. She'd been working late, preparing documents for Ji-Hwan's lawsuit against his father. A A case to reclaim years of forced labor performed under duress. It was audacious, probably doomed, but it was principle more than expectation of victory. Ji-Hwan was at home when his phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Choi. The voice was professional, emotionless. Your attorney is in a very precarious situation. If you want her safe, you'll drop your lawsuit and issue a public statement that all allegations were fabricated due to mental health crisis. Ji-Hwan's blood turned to ice. What have you done to her? Nothing yet. But we're prepared to do a great deal if you don't cooperate. 24 hours. After that, Miss Joseph's safety cannot be guaranteed. The call ended. Ji-Hwan tried calling Kalinda. Voicemail. Tried again. Same result. Called her office, no answer. Tried her emergency contact, her brother Andre in Trinidad, who hadn't heard from her in days. Panic clawed at his throat. He called the police, but they were unhelpful. She hadn't been missing long enough, and he had no proof beyond an anonymous call. He knew it wasn't a prank. Knew with bone-deep certainty that his father had made good on his threats. For 3 hours, Ji-Hwan paced, trying to think, trying to plan. He could drop the lawsuit, would drop it in a heartbeat for Kalinda's safety. But he knew his father. Dae-young wouldn't just want compliance. He'd want total submission. Ji-Hwan's phone buzzed. A video message. His hands shook as he opened it. Kalinda was tied to a chair in an abandoned warehouse, duct tape across her mouth, terror in her eyes. A hand reached into frame and roughly pulled the tape off. Ji-Hwan, she said, voice trembling. Don't do what they want. Don't drop the lawsuit. Whatever they threaten. Her words cut off as someone hit her hard enough that her head snapped to the side. The video ended. Ji-Hwan's vision went red. Not panic, cold, focused rage. The kind his father had tried to cultivate in him for years. Except this time, Ji-Hwan's enemy was his own blood. He made 3 calls. First to Dr. Kim, leaving a message. Second to Andre, explaining everything and asking him to contact the Caribbean embassy if Ji-Hwan didn't call back within 12 hours. Third to his father's private line. Ji-Hwan. Dae-young sounded unsurprised. I assume you received our message. Let her go. Right now. Unharmed. Or I swear I will burn your entire empire to the ground. Bold words from a son who's never had the spine to follow through. But I'm willing to negotiate. Drop the lawsuit. Issue the statement. Return home. And I'll consider releasing Miss Joseph with nothing more than a reminder that opposing the Choi family has consequences. Consider. Ji-Hwan laughed, dark and broken. That's not negotiation. That's you thinking you've already won. Haven't I? What are you going to do? You have no power. No resources. No allies. You're right. I don't have power or resources. Ji-Hwan's voice was ice. All I have is the evidence you forced me to collect. Every crime, every bribe, every illegal contract. All I have is the willingness to hand it to every prosecutor and journalist who'll listen. And all I have is the certainty that even if you kill me, even if you kill Kalinda, that evidence will still come to light. Because I already sent copies to people who have no reason to protect you. The silence stretched so long Ji-Hwan thought his father had hung up. Then, you're bluffing. Am I? Want to test that theory? Release Kalinda within the hour, or find out just how much damage one determined son can do. Another long silence. You've changed. The boy who stood on that rooftop would never have threatened me like this. The boy on that rooftop wanted to die because he had nothing to live for. He was wrong. And the man who came back from that edge will do anything to protect the person who taught him how to live again. Even if it means becoming exactly like me. Because that's what this is. Threats, leverage, willingness to cause collateral damage. You're using my tactics. Ji-Hwan's chest tightened. His father was right. In threatening to release evidence that would hurt innocent people tangentially involved, Ji-Hwan was using the same ruthless calculation he'd always despised. But the alternative was letting Kalinda suffer. Maybe I am becoming like you, Ji-Hwan admitted. Maybe that's the cost of survival in a world you created. But here's the difference. I'm using these tactics to protect someone I love. You use them to protect money and power. So if I have to become a monster to save her, I'll live with that guilt. But I won't live with letting her die. The line went dead. Ji-Hwan didn't know if his father would call his bluff. All he knew was that he'd just crossed a line he couldn't uncross. 47 minutes later, his phone buzzed. A location pin in Gangnam. And a single text. Come alone. Unarmed. Within 20 minutes or she dies. Ji-Hwan didn't hesitate. Didn't call police or wait for backup. He just grabbed his coat and ran. The warehouse was exactly what he'd expected, dark, empty, the kind of place where bodies could disappear. Ji-Hwan's footsteps echoed on concrete as he walked deeper, following muffled crying. He found Kalinda in the center of the floor, still tied to that chair, blood crusting at the corner of her mouth. Two men stood nearby, weapons visible. And standing in the shadows, his father, watching with calm detachment. Ji-Hwan, no. Kalinda's voice was hoarse. You shouldn't have come. I know it's stupid. I know it's what he wanted. But I couldn't lose you. Not after you fought so hard to keep me alive. How touching. Dae-young stepped into the light. The suicidal lawyer and his savior, reunited in the place where both your stories will end. You got what you wanted. I dropped the lawsuit. I'll issue the statement. Just let her go. This is between you and me. Dae-young tilted his head. You really do love her. How inconvenient. Love makes people weak. I thought I'd taught you that lesson. One of the guards moved toward Kalinda, pulling out a knife. No. Ji-Hwan lunged forward, but the second guard grabbed him, arm locking around his throat. Father, please. I'll do anything. I'll come back. I'll sign whatever you want. Just don't hurt her. Anything? That's what you said 3 years ago. And look where that led, standing on a rooftop. Forgive me if I don't trust your promises. The guard with the knife grabbed Kalinda's hair, yanking her head back. Wait. The word tore from Ji-Hwan's chest. You want to hurt someone? Hurt me. I'm the one who defied you. She's innocent. Just let me take her place. Dae-young's expression shifted. Interest, maybe. Let you take her place? And what exactly does that mean? Whatever you were planning to do to her, do it to me instead. Ji-Hwan's eyes locked with Kalinda's, trying to memorize her face. Let her walk out alive and unharmed. In exchange, I'll come back. No more lawsuits. No more defiance. I'll be whoever you need me to be. No. Kalinda thrashed against her bonds. Ji-Hwan, no. You can't do this. You'll die. Maybe not today, but slowly, until there's nothing left of you. Better than nothing being left of you, Ji-Hwan said softly. You saved my life. Let me return the favor. Dae-young was quiet, calculating, weighing options with cold efficiency. Interesting. You'd really sacrifice your freedom for this woman.